Okay, so there you go. We're recording. So off you go.
Okay. Quality assurance QA in IT is crucial for developing successful software. One important aspect of QA is thorough testing. This process ensures that the software meets the required standards and functions as intended. Testing involves identifying bugs and issues, which helps prevent problems in final products. It is essential to have the right methodology in place to address these challenges. Effective QA teams work together to ensure that every feature is thoroughly examined before the software is released. By focusing on these details, companies can enhance customer satisfaction and deliver quality solutions. Always remember that quality is the key to success in IT.
Okay, that's pretty good. A couple of things. Um,
Mhm.
the third line, enhance customer satisfaction. So companies can enhance customer
Enhance.
satisfaction. And in a couple of places, I can't
Okay.
remember exactly now, you missed out the article. Okay. Again, with this particular piece of text, ChatGPT has put emphasis on the THs in
Mhm.
words like the, them, etc. Yeah. So
Mhm.
part of what we need to do is practice a little bit more with those because sometimes what happens is we pronounce them as D's and dem, like we talked
Mhm.
about before. So I noticed towards the end, so by focusing so on these details, you pronounce that well. At the beginning, less so. I think by the end you realized that there was a lot of THs and you
Yeah.
pronounced the last ones much
Yeah.
better than the first ones.
Mhm.
Okay, the word quality, what rather than quality, quality. Yeah, it's
Quality. Okay.
more of an O sort of sound, quality rather than quality. Yeah. So obviously in Spanish, the word is different, calidad, and you put your mouth in a different position for calidad from quality. Yeah.
Quality. Mhm.
Okay, so very good. I think it's a useful exercise to do just to have a quick practice each time
It
with
is.
those. Okay, so let's stop the share and then get back to normal service. Here we go. Right. Okay, the suffix ish. So I'll give you a sentence with an adjective and you add a phrase with an adjective that has the suffix ish. So the sky wasn't completely blue today, but it was
The sky wasn't completely blue today, but it was bluish.
bluish. Yeah. The room wasn't completely dark, but it was. So the room wasn't completely
Uh,
dark.
the room wasn't completely dark, but it was darkish.
If your neighbor was having a party and was playing loudish music, would you go and complain? If your neighbor was having a party and was playing loudish music, would you go and complain? No. If my neighbor
No, if I mean my neighbor
was having a
was having a
party
party and was playing
playing
loudish
music,
music, I
I
wouldn't go and
wouldn't.
complain.
Imagine that we're in the middle of summer and it's snowing. What weather are we having? Imagine that we are in the middle of summer and it's snowing. What weather are we having? We are having
We're having strangish weather.
weather. Yes. Okay. What time do you normally go to bed during the week? What time do you normally go to bed during the week? I normally go to bed
I normally go to bed at 10ish,
during
11ish.
during the week. How many people live in your street? How many people live in your street? 50-ish people and 20-ish cats.
50ish people live in my street.
Yes. If you opened the front door of an old, empty farmhouse and it was very dark inside, what would you do before going any further? If you opened the front door of an old, empty farmhouse and it was very dark inside, what would you do before going any further? If I opened
If I open the door of an old
empty
farmhouse,
farmhouse,
an old empty farmhouse and it was dark inside,
I would.
uh, I would light the candle.
Okay. Why is it dangerous to light a fire after a long, dry summer? Why is it dangerous to light a fire after a long, dry summer? It's dangerous.
It's dangerous to light the fire after a long dry summer because the branches may catch fire.
Yes, okay. So, what's the best thing to do after you suffer a failure? What's the best thing to do after you suffer a failure? The best thing to do?
The best thing to do after you suffer a failure is to keep trying.
Yes, okay. So, if your dog had died last week, how do you think you would feel at the moment? If your dog had died last week, how do you think you would feel at the moment? If my dog had died,
If my dog had died last week, and I would feel upset at the moment.
if a waiter upset a bowl of soup over your friend's best dress, what would you do? If a waiter upset a bowl of soup over your friend's best dress, what would you do? If a waiter upset,
If a waiter upset a bowl of soup over my best friend's dress, I would feel upset.
yes, or yeah, I would ask
Can you give me
for
one
a
second?
food. Yeah,
Bulma
of
is playing
course.
with the ball and it's distracting me.
Okay.
She, it was she was making a lot of sound and it was really distracting.
Okay. Never mind. Never mind. Yep.
Okay,
So if your
sorry about that.
boss shouted at you in front of your colleagues, would you get upset or would you put on a brave face? If your boss shouted at you in front of your colleagues, would you get upset or would you put on a brave face? If my boss,
If my boss shouted at me in front of my colleagues, I would feel upset.
feel upset, but put on a brave face. Yeah, just to practice that.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you do if your friend brought his new dog to your house and it wrecked your new sofa? What would you do if your friend brought his new dog to your house and it wrecked your new sofa? If my friend,
If my brought his dog to my house
house,
and it wrecked my new sofa, I would kick him out of my house.
yes, and never invite him back. Yes. So describe the most famous shipwreck in history. Describe the most famous shipwreck in history. The most famous
The most famous shipwreck in history is the Titanic, and it
was the
sank.
Titanic. So
What was the
was
Titanic?
Titanic.
And it sank in 1912, and it was found in 1985.
85, yeah, and then made into a film by James Cameron. Would you like to work in
Yeah, and it,
sales? That is selling products to the public. Would you like to work in sales? That is selling products to the public. No, I wouldn't.
no, I wouldn't like to work in sales.
When a house is for sale in your town, is it common to see a for sale sign outside it? When a house is for sale in your town, is it common to see a for sale sign outside it? Yes, when a house is for sale,
Yes, when a house is for sale in my town, it's common to see a for sale sign outside it.
do you feel you are ever influenced by TV advertisements for the latest mobile phones? Do you feel you are ever influenced by TV advertisements for the latest mobile phones? Yes, I sometimes feel
Yes, I sometimes feel influenced by by TV advertisements
for
on
the
the
latest.
latest mobile phones.
Do you enjoy looking for clothes in the sales? Does your girlfriend enjoy looking for clothes in the sales? Yes, my girlfriend.
I don't know actually,
Oh,
but
okay.
I would say yes. I would say
Yeah,
yes, my girlfriend.
probably. Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. But she's not the common type of girl.
Oh, okay. No, of course not. If she was the common type, you wouldn't be with her, would you?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, do you put your TV on mute during the commercial breaks? Do you put your TV on mute during the commercial breaks? Yes, I put my TV.
Yes, I put my TV on mute during the commercial breaks.
Name two important commercial rivals in the airline industry. Name two important commercial rivals in the airline industry. So Qatar,
American
yeah,
American Airlines and Flybondi are two are two
commercial rivals.
important commercial rivals.
Yes. Okay, so I'll offer you something and you answer positively. Would you like some biscuits? Would you like some biscuits? Yes, I would like.
Yes, I'd like some biscuits, please.
Would you like some coffee? Would you like some coffee? Yes, I'd like.
Yes, I'd like some, please.
Okay, so now I'll give you the same questions, but with a negative answer, please. Would you like some biscuits? Would you like some biscuits? No. I.
No, I wouldn't like any biscuits, thank you.
Would you like some coffee? Would you like some coffee? No, I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't like any coffee, thank you.
Okay, so remember the word over can mean more than. So
Mhm.
does this book weigh over 200 grams? Does this book weigh over 200 grams? Yes, that book weighs.
Yes, that book weighs over 200 grams.
If you had to travel over 2 hours a day to and from work, would you consider changing your job? If you had to travel over 2 hours a day to and from work, would you consider changing your job? Yes, if I had to travel,
Yes, if I had to travel over 2 hours to and from work, I would consider changing my
changing my
job.
job. In which part of a house would you expect to find a basement? In which part of a house would you expect to find a basement? I'd expect,
I'd expect to find the basement below the ground level,
not below the ground level, below the ground level.
below
Below the ground.
the ground level. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so a bargain is a product that has a price much lower than its value. So if you saw a car for sale at half the normal price, would you think it was a bargain? Or would you think, or would you worry that there was something wrong with it? If you saw a car for sale at half the normal price, would you think it was a bargain or would you worry that there was something wrong with it? If I saw a car for sale,
If I saw a car for sale half the normal price, I think there was something wrong
something
with
wrong
it.
with it. Yeah. If you went to a market in an Arab country, would you bargain over the prices? If you went to a market in an Arab country or the Persa in the center of Mendoza, would you bargain over the prices? Yes. If I went
Yes, if I went to
a
I forgot
market
the last
in an
a
Arab
market
country,
in another country, I would bargain over the price.
I said, yeah, over the price or over the prices. Yeah, it's the same.
The
Yeah.
price.
So why do people walk cautiously on the edge of cliffs? Why do people walk cautiously on the edge of cliffs? People walk cautiously.
People walk cautiously on the edge of cliffs
Just
because they
because,
might fall.
yeah. What kind of signs often contain the word caution? What kind of signs often contain the word caution? Warning signs.
Warning signs often contain the word caution.
Caution. Yeah. Okay, so another word for fast is rapid. How fast is the most rapid train in the world and where does it run? How fast is the most rapid train in the world and where does it run? The most rapid train,
The most rapid train in the world is for 100 kilometers an hour, and it runs in China.
and I didn't check between which cities, so I'll have to try to remember to do that. Okay, so hard up. Are there people in your country that are so hard up that they can't afford to buy food every day? Are there people in your country that are so hard up that they can't afford to buy food every day? Yes, unfortunately,
Yes, unfortunately, there are people in my country that are so hard up that they cannot afford
to buy.
to buy food every day.
Yes, okay. So double contractions. If you'd been in a restaurant last night, what would you have liked to have eaten? If you'd been in a restaurant last night, what would you have liked to have eaten? If I'd been,
If I'd been
in a restaurant.
in a restaurant last night, I'd
I'd
have
have liked
I'd have I'd have liked
to have
uh
eaten.
to have eaten asado.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. The word mail, yeah, mail, refers to the system of letters. Yeah, so let's say so mail, like that, mail. The verb
Mail.
deliver means similar to give, but generally we use it when we're talking about letters or
What's the
mail.
difference? I think it's a longer sound, right? The difference between male and male from masculino.
It's the same. It sounds
It's the same.
exactly the same. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So he received mail and the mail delivered the mail. So it's the same.
Hmm.
Okay, so the adverb beforehand means before it happened. How long does it typically take for a letter to be delivered if you send it through the mail? How long does it typically take for a letter to be delivered if you send it through the mail? We can imagine because we don't do that anymore. It typically takes about,
It typically takes about uh, a week
or
for a letter to be delivered
if you send it
uh,
through.
if you send it through the mail.
Okay, so in England, first class is guaranteed delivery the next day. It's a first class mail. It's
Okay.
expensive, but it's guaranteed anywhere in the
Does
country.
anyone pay for that?
Sorry?
Does anyone pay for that?
Yes. Second class, I think, is 3 days. So if
Okay.
you so so I think first class is something like £1, so a little bit more than $1.
Oh.
And the second
It's cheap.
class is half of that price. But it's been a while
Mhm.
since I sent a letter. Okay, we can also use deliver as a formal way to say give. So the president delivered a speech. When the president delivers a speech on TV in your country, how long does it usually last? When the president delivers a speech on TV in your country, how long does it usually last? When the president,
When the president delivers a
a speech.
speech in my country, it usually lasts an hour.
Yeah, so a lot more than in other countries. He likes to talk, doesn't he? Okay, so
Yeah.
critic, critico. So a critic is a job that involves writing newspaper articles about the quality of food in a restaurant or the quality of a performance, etc. Do you pay attention to newspaper or internet articles written by critics before you go to a restaurant or hotel for the first time? Do you pay attention to newspaper or internet articles written by critics before you go to a restaurant or hotel for the first time? Yes or no? No?
Yes.
I
I pay
bet
attention maybe to articles before going to a restaurant
written by
written
critics.
by critics.
Critics. Yeah, normally a critic is like a professional person that
Mhm.
they know a lot about the subject. Yeah. So expect, esperar o suponer, rely on, depende de, or what
Mhm.
have we got here? Contar con. So the verb expect means what you think will happen in the future. What do you expect the weather will be like tomorrow? What do you expect the weather will be like tomorrow? I expect it'll be.
I expect it will be raining tomorrow.
Okay, so the T is quite strongly pronounced, especially with a vowel that follows. I expect it to be. So I expect
Okay.
it will be
I expect it will be rainy tomorrow.
tomorrow. When's the next time your parents are expected to visit you? When's the next time your parents are expected to visit you? My parents are
My parents are expected to visit me
this
in a
afternoon.
couple of months.
Oh, okay, in a couple of months. Yeah, okay. The verb to rely on means the same as to depend on. Can you
Mhm.
always rely on the weather to be sunny in the place where you live, or are you sometimes disappointed by unexpected rain? Can you always rely on the weather to be sunny in the place where you live, or are you sometimes disappointed by unexpected rain? No, I can't always.
I can't always rely
The weather to
uh,
be.
on the weather to be sunny in the place where I live.
I'm
I
sometimes
sometimes disappointed
by
by unexpected rains.
very good. Rain or rain, normally we say in the singular. If we say rains, it sounds more like monsoons in India, something like that. By
Oh,
unexpected
okay.
rains. Yeah, it sounds like somewhere in the tropics. So unexpected rain in general. Who do you rely on to help you when you've a serious problem to deal with? Who do you rely on to help you when you've a serious problem to deal with? I always rely on
I always rely on my girlfriend when I have
serious.
a serious problem that I have to deal with.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So fast means the same as quick, but sometimes we use it with the meaning of completely. So, for example, Colin was fast asleep when his neighbor knocked on the door. The word fasten is a formal word which means to fix or set in place. For example, the pilot asked the passengers to fasten their seatbelts. Okay, so fast can
Mhm.
mean completely, fasten means to fix or set in place. If you entered a house in the middle of a forest and found three bears fast asleep, what would you do? If you entered a house in the middle of a forest and found three bears fast asleep, what would you do? If I entered a house,
If I entered the house and found three beds fast asleep,
I would.
I would get a nap, maybe
You would get what? Sorry, it
get
cut.
a nap,
You would take a nap.
take a nap.
Take a nap. Yeah, so take a nap. Yeah. Dormir con ellos. Yeah. Okay. Why is it important to fasten your seatbelt when you're on an airplane? Why is it important to fasten your seatbelt when you're on an airplane? It's important
It's important to fasten your seatbelt
when you are on an airplane.
when you are on an airplane because there might be turbulences,
Yeah, in the singular, turbulence.
turbulence.
Turbulence. Yes. Okay. So the word porter, porter maladero. A porter is a person that carries things. You can sometimes find porters at train stations. Porters also help people carry equipment on climbing trips. Would you
Mhm.
consider yourself to be strong enough to work as a porter on a climbing trip to the mountains? Would you consider yourself strong enough to work as a porter on a climbing trip to the mountains? Yes, I'd consider myself
Yes, I consider myself to strong enough to work as a porter in
on
a
a
building
climbing trip to.
or on a climbing trip. Sorry, porter. I was thinking about the porter of a building, like
Ah,
the no sé, I don't
okay.
know if that's the same word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same word.
Yeah,
Okay.
we normally say for the person who works in the building, the caretaker.
The caretaker. Okay.
Yeah. So the caretaker of the building, or in the United States, the janitor.
The janitor. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I didn't know that word.
yeah. So porter is normal because the word comes from French. So porter in French means to carry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Okay.
a porter is a person that carries things. Okay. Compound adjectives. Another way to make compound adjectives is by using a number. Instead of a house with three bedrooms, we can say a three-bedroom house. Using a compound adjective this way often sounds more comfortable than the longer form. Remember that adjectives in English are always singular. Okay, so I'll
Mhm.
give you some sentences and you give me the same sentence but using a compound adjective. So Colin
Mhm.
went on a business trip that lasted 2 days. Colin went on a business trip that lasted 2 days. Colin went on,
Only went on a 2 days business trip.
not 2 days, singular for
Today.
adjectives, a 2 day business trip. Yeah. Football is played by teams of 11 men. Football is played by teams of 11 men. Football is played.
Football is played in 11 man. Teams.
Teams. Very good. Singular. Very good. Karen's car has two doors. Karen's car has two doors. Karen has.
Karen has a two-door car.
Very good. Okay, so last few questions for the day. So we'll try some other sentences. If I rented a flat to you for 2 years, what type of agreement would we have? If I rented a flat to you for 2 years, what type of agreement would we have? If you rented
If you rent
a
me
flat
an
to
apartment
me,
for 2 years, a flat to me for 2 years,
we would
we would
have.
have a 2-year agreement.
What kind of sofa is large enough for three people? What kind of sofa is large enough for three people? A
A three-person sofa
sofa is large enough,
is large enough for three
three people.
people.
Normally, we would say a three-seat sofa, but you could say a
Three seats.
three-person sofa, a three-seat sofa. Yeah, there's
Mhm.
asientos,
Mhm.
there's lugares. How much water can fill a 2 liter bottle? How much water can fill a 2 liter bottle? 2 liters of water.
2 liters of water can fill a 2-liter bottle.
Very good. We'll stop there for today. We can relax. Any tournaments this weekend?
No,
No,
no tournaments. The next one is the 25th, I think.
the 25th.
25th. The 25th. I'm not sure what.
Oh, 25th of April. Yeah, so 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, in 2 weeks, 25th of April.
Ah, okay. Very good. Are you doing anything
Yeah.
for the long weekend?
I think I'm working the long weekend. But
No
yeah,
rest for Johnny.
no rest. Which weekend is that?
So
The eight,
it's
the
the
18th, right?
next weekend. Yeah. So
No, okay.
not so
No,
next
I'm
next
working
Friday is
on.
a bank holiday.
Oh yeah. Uh, so yeah, I'm working on Thursday and Friday next week, I think.
Oh,
Not 100% sure, but yeah, I think I'll be working those 2 days. What about you? Do you have any special
we
plan?
we were going to go to China, but it's
Oh,
just so
nice.
diff yeah, it's just so far. No,
Yeah.
it's 2 days journey in each direction, so it's really difficult to spend. It's a place where you need to go for 3 or 4 weeks. You can't go
Yeah.
for less than that, and it's a little bit difficult to justify that time. Maybe in July or at the end of the year, we might look again to see whether we can
Mhm.
go. But we were thinking about Easter, but I think it's just a little bit too difficult, really.
Have you been there before?
Not to China. No, I've been to Japan a few times,
Yeah, I
but
remember.
but one of my students does a lot of business with Chinese companies, and he's visited China many, many times, and he always talks about China in
Mhm.
very glowing terms. So he really loves going to China. So
So
he persuaded
that's the
us.
only
Mhm.
reason behind that trip. The only purpose is pleasure.
Yes, yeah. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think it's feasible to pick up any Chinese students for my lessons, really. I think China's got that covered quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've worked with Chinese people, and it's quite hard for me to understand it. I'm pretty sure they say the same thing about me, but yeah, it's quite difficult for me to understand their accent. They speak quite fast, and they don't open their mouth when they speak. So
yes.
it's quite difficult, and I guess because of their native language, it's hard for them to pronounce some words. So I think that's why it's hard for me at least to understand. Not sure about you that you have that it's your first language, but for me it's quite difficult to understand Chinese people when they speak
Yes,
English.
I think it's an interesting thing how your language changes the way that you think about things. So I think Chinese people, well, in the Chinese language, I think the past tense is not as well defined as in European languages. So
Mhm.
when Chinese people are learning English, they often only use the present tense, which is
Oh,
which
okay.
is quite
Yeah.
interesting. And also
Yeah.
culturally, I think that part of the world, as you've seen with Indian programmers, they they
Mhm.
generally say yes to anything. So if you ask them to do something, they say yes,
Yeah.
and then it's only later that you realise that they couldn't do it. So they tend
Yeah.
to be optimistic, shall we say, on their ability to fulfil things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so but also generally speaking, with Chinese, the letter R and the letter L, they have
Mhm.
trouble pronouncing the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's
Yeah.
a
I guess all non-native speakers have different type of problems. I mean, we in Argentina have other problems as well, pronouncing other sounds like the th sound, for example.
yes,
Uh, so so yeah, it's
yeah,
the same for
it's quite pronounced
the
with Chinese
non-native
speakers.
country. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I was going to ask you a quick question. What do you think
Yep,
about
sure.
international exam? I was planning to prepare for an international exam. What do you think about? Is it worth to do that,
It
to
depends
make the effort?
what you want to achieve. If you're looking to work in the United States or you're looking to work in the UK, you don't need an exam. Normally, the interview is enough for companies to decide whether you can do the job or not, because you got to imagine that there's a lot of immigration into the
Yeah.
States and
Hmm.
into the UK. So people come with all sorts of certificates, and companies are used to interviewing people to assess whether they're able to pass or to do the job. So if that's what
Hmm.
you're looking for, then probably it's not worthwhile. You probably just want to do the interviews directly. But
Hmm.
if you're looking to have something on your CV in order
No.
to perhaps get past the first level filters, then
Hmm.
maybe.
No,
But
I've never been actually in an interview. I've never been asked what kind of certificates I have. So yeah, it's not a. I think it's not a requirement. I thought it was maybe maybe this worth the effort to improve my English, but I don't know if it is worth the effort to prepare those type of exams.
in my experience, those types of exams cover all the different aspects of the language. So they have
Hmm.
a lot of they spend a lot of time on the written part, so a lot of multiple choice, a lot of those kinds of aspects that they test, as well as having like an interview or um, uh, a conversation test as part of
Hmm.
the exam as well. I think your English is good enough for the advanced level certifications anyway. So it's not worth doing first certificate, or even probably proficiency is probably below the level that you've already got in English. So you want to be looking at the more advanced certifications.
In your opinion, it is not worth the effort to take those
Uh,
exams.
It's a lot of money. Last time I checked, it was several $100s to take the
Hmm.
exam, and normally there's a lead time of 2 or 3 months
Hmm.
before you can take the exam. I think your English is good enough to go directly for the exam.
Hmm.
So it depends what your purpose is. If you want to use it as a way to focus on practicing your English in order to try to do the best you can, well, okay, that's fair enough. But I think that your English is good enough that if you have an interview, that's what people will judge you on more than the certificate.
Hmm. No,
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a
It,
lot of sense.
it depends what you want out of it. I think, and like I say, your English is good enough already to get past, the regular interview. If you want to practice your interview with me, we can do that. If you're looking for a to apply for a specific job, what?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I do pretty good at interviews. I mean,
Yeah.
I most of the times I pass the interviews. I mean, depending on of course, on the requirements, the what technical requirements the position has. For example, I don't know, technologies or stuff like that. I may not meet the requirements, the basic requirements, because I don't have experience. If I don't have experience with those technologies, but I most of the times I do get through the interviews. It's not a blocker. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I can do much better with my communications. I can be much better with my communication. I know I can be much better at expressing myself.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it's not a blocker. I thought it may worth the effort to just take one of those exams to get any better, more formal, maybe at my speaking. But yeah, I don't know.
I think you don't really need it. I think is the upshot. If the objective is applying for jobs, I don't think you need
Mhm.
a
Okay.
separate certificate. If it's something that you feel you need in order to reassure yourself of the level that you've got, that's a different kind of issue, I think.
Okay. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
No problem. Okay. Got to go now. Got to dash. So you
Enjoy.
have an excellent weekend.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you very much, you two, and I'll see you next week.
See you next one, next Wednesday. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye
Have a
bye.
good one.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.